Welcome back to Extra Shot. It's Jack here, Zach's with me, as ever.
Hello, Jack.
Hello, mate. On the pod today, sobbing and screaming at the Paul Pogba trial. A club chairman gets his secretary pregnant at the Christmas party. And Mark Cucurella tanks Puma's big Christmas launch. How you doing, Zach?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, preparing for our big Christmas party tonight.
I'm very excited. Yeah, we're going to a Russian sauna to be stripped naked and beaten with tree branches by a burly Russian man.
Yeah, by a Russian bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and none of that is code, by the way. That is literally what's happening. We are off there, or as far as you're concerned, we are. I might be misleading you, and it's just.
We're going to Disneyland.
Well, it's a knocking shop. But presumably, a lot of people are at their Christmas do's at the moment. So if you're listening to this hungover after a long night, photocopying your arse and telling Keith from accounts he's a wanker, then welcome. Hope you're enjoying it. Did you see though? One group who won't be enjoying their Christmas festivities this year are the long-suffering staff at Man United, because Jim Ratcliffe has cancelled Christmas.
In the least surprising news of this year.
It was the next move for him. So this isn't the players' party. This is the party for like all the club staff. You know, a lot of people don't really enjoy their Christmas parties and would probably rather just have a small bonus. But I think like if you work at Man United, it's quite an exciting opportunity.
Did the players normally come to the Christmas party as well? Because they normally do their own Christmas party. Because there was the one, I think it got very dark a few years ago when they ended up shagging.
I was actually going to tell you a few details from that one. There was you're referring to the infamous Man United Xmas party of 2007, which I'm not going to give you all the details. It got very out of hand, but I was just reading up about it before we came on. And so they did like a sort of pub crawl. They end up at this bar where there's 100 girls waiting for them. And the press said, not a wag in sight. And then the tabloid report said, a queue of unseasonably tanned beach blonde gate crashers in mini dresses lingered hopefully outside in the cold. So those are the ones who aren't even invited. They're just hoping to get in. And one of the tabloids sent an undercover reporter. And apparently she was with this other girl who she said was my friend from uni. And Wayne Rooney apparently said to her, I bet you two were naughty together at uni. Did you do threesomes? You know, 2 girls and a lad. Which I guess I can imagine him saying. Anyway, there's a little vignette from that party.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder whether the Man United staff are breathing a sigh of relief that this party's been cancelled.
Yeah, you might wonder that. I mean, I think the staff did want the party because there's been a little bit of uproar in the tabloids, but possibly also because Ratcliffe has replaced the traditional £100 cash bonus for staff with a £40 M&S voucher. So apparently United have always given them each £100 at Christmas.
Yeah, that's
the staff, and it's
God. It's just why do they keep doing this?
I know
Didn't George, our producer, said that he once received a £25 John Lewis voucher for a Christmas bonus from wherever he was working, and it turned out that the voucher was expired. Which he said was actually worse than receiving nothing, because he spent an evening like wandering around John Lewis working out what he should get, only to discover it expired 6 months ago.
It's a real slap in the face. Just return that speaker you were admiring back to the shelf. Yeah, I mean, £40 M&S voucher, I was thinking like, I actually looked on their website, so it does get you a turkey, but nothing else. Yeah, the turkeys are £40. Right. Otherwise, it's Colin Caterpillar and Percy Pigs for Christmas this year. Also, like, I understand Ratcliffe's, trying to turn the club around, but I just don't get these small savings. I think he's missing the bigger picture. United employ 1,100 people, if he hasn't sacked them all. Last count, it was 1,100. So saving £60, you're saving 66 grand. That is 2 and a bit days of Anthony's salary.
Yeah. Yeah, is he just really playing up to this Grinch character now, Jim Ratcliffe?
Yeah.
It's like, surely you can see that is going to be bad PR, right?
Yeah. There was a staff member quoted in the press this week, finally uttering the words I've been waiting for. One of them said, it was better under the Glazers.
Oh, really?
Which is like the ultimate slap in the face. I mean, give him time, Jim. I think it's very early to say that. But yeah, interesting that they miss Malcolm Glazer's posse, Joel and Avrams.
Because we were chatting earlier this week about how Dan Ashworth got sacked, the sporting director, and that he was apparently in the box at their game against Nottingham Forest with his family when he got the call telling him to come into the office to get sacked.
It was like, can you come upstairs, please?
Yeah. Just surely that's needlessly cruel. You could wait till Monday morning.
Yeah. So was it after full time?
It was after full time. He was probably just like gathering up the kids and getting them in the car home. When
just one more thing, Dan.
Yeah.
Like popping up to floor 4. Also, does that mean that like the defeat was the final straw for him? He's the sporting director. Surely he should take a slightly longer view than like,
yeah,
we lost to Forest.
Yeah. Also, like they paid, what was it, $3 million to get him out of his contract at Newcastle. And he then spent 5 months on gardening leave before he could actually join, and then 5 months in the role before they sacked him again, presumably with a big payoff.
So that's 50 Christmas parties.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair to Ratcliffe, maybe he has, read up like us on Man United Christmas parties of old and just decided he doesn't want some pervy exec getting up to no good under the mistletoe. I mean, we talked on our episode about the Fergie era at Man United, about Martin Edwards, the old CEO, and how he had to have a minder assigned for the Christmas party because his visits to the ladies' toilet were becoming more frequent. And it's not just Man United where dirty dogs lurked the corridors of power. So in 2000, at the Bayern Munich Christmas party, among the dignitaries sipping on the Glühwein and nibbling on a seasonal Yule log, was the great Franz Beckenbauer, who was president of the club. And while at the party, Franz, who was known to have an eye for the ladies, he got a little bit tipsy and ended up having a one-night stand with one of the club secretaries who he'd got talking to. So, this would be a bit of a scandal.
Was this sort of Boris Becker in the broom cupboard style, or?
Yeah, I don't know what room. I don't know if it was like, should we sneak off to the
director's lounge,
massage room? Yeah, or the director's lounge. Not sure where this secret bonk took place, but unfortunately it didn't end there because he got her pregnant.
Oh wow!
In their one night stand, and he managed to keep it quiet for a bit. But the press learned of this child after the baby was born, and Franz was confronted, and he was quite sort of. I guess unapologetic is the word I'd use. So they asked him about it and he said, "It's not such a crime. Our dear Lord is pleased with every child." Which might be true of the dear Lord. And Franz is a Catholic, or was a Catholic, I should say. But I'm not sure his wife, Sibylle, was so pleased. They asked him about Sibylle's view on it and he said, "We talked things over and it wasn't easy, especially for her."
No shit.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for her, mate. But we have decided to stay together. Our marriage is strong and it will be the same as before. He left her 2 years later and married the secretary, Heidi.
Really, the same one? Wow.
Yeah, Heidi, the mother, who she became his fourth wife. And actually, they had another child together and stayed together until he died this year. So, it was love.
Yeah, and it's what the good Lord would have wanted as well. So,
yeah, but it wasn't just a bit of Christmas party lust under the mistletoe. So, good for Franz, I guess.
Yeah.
One other, when I was just looking at the Man United parties thing, do you remember the story of Lee Sharp had a house party and someone, a neighbour, who was one of Sir Alex Ferguson's informants, called Fergie, and Fergie showed up at the party and apparently just like burst in and was like, where are they? And he found Ryan Giggs hiding in a cupboard, which I think we've talked about before, but what I didn't know is that Fergie then apparently dragged all the desks out of the door, some of them by the ear, and apparently he gave each of them a clip round the head as they left, including the girls, he said. And then he bollocked Giggs and Sharp and called their mums.
Yeah. See,
it.
this was good old fair justice in the Man United glory days. No, just like a clip around the ear rather than silently cutting your Christmas bonus.
Yeah. Or being sacked in front of your children just before Christmas. Now, Zach, I said last week that the trial of the century is underway in Paris, where Paul Pogba's brother, Matthias, and 5 of the Pogba's childhood friends have been on trial. And this was already a ridiculous story. It kind of had it all. Witchcraft accusations, kidnap, multi-million euro blackmail. But somehow the actual court case itself has delivered even more Hollywood-level drama. There have been some truly mad moments. Before we get on to the actual drama in the courtroom, let me just give you some of the maddest bits of the prosecution case. So there are 6 defendants. One of them is Paul Pogba's own brother, Matthias, who memorably released a video accusing Paul of practicing witchcraft. So he's in the dock. Another of the defendants is Riyad Mahrez's brother-in-law, a guy referred to as Mamadou M. They just give you first names. So Mamadou is married to Mahrez's sister. He worked as Paul Pogba's personal assistant for a time, and then later for Mahrez. So yeah, a bit of star glamour. Anyway, so these 6 guys, basically they lived off Paul Pogba's donations. So one of them ran a restaurant, which Paul funded. Another one was running a dental business in Dubai, which Paul had given him some startup cash for. Another was like a sometime driver. There was the other guy, Mahrez's brother-in-law, who was an assistant. But basically, after a while, Paul said he grew tired of just giving these guys money. So about 3 times a year, he would just like send these guys sums from like $2,000 to $20,000, and he was just getting a bit sick of it. He said, in the case of his brother, he just wanted to go back to normal brotherly relations rather than funding him. So he cut them off. He just stopped sending them money, and these guys were running out of cash personally. And so the prosecution argue that they decide they have to threaten him in order to get some proper money off him. So as we know, most colourfully, a group of some of them kidnapped Pogba with M16 machine guns. They took him to this flat in Paris where they demanded a quarter of his net worth, which...
That just seems excessive to run your teeth whitening business in Dubai. Surely you don't need 13 mil.
We're out of floss, Paul. I'm going to need at least 4 million euros. I think they're all viewing this as like their last trip to the well. Yeah. Which probably makes sense. Anyway, Paul, he paid them like $100,000 after that. So Matthias was not one of the kidnappers, Matthias being Paul's brother. But a few days later, Matthias texted him with some bank details for one of the other defendants. And he said to Paul, what are we going to do about this 13 million euros? So he's charged with extortion, largely over that. There were some other quite menacing visits that members of the group paid to Pogba that led him to cough up cash. So 3 days after the kidnap, 2 of the defendants went shopping at the Adidas store in Paris using Pogba's credit card. They spent 57,000 euros on 633 items. So apparently they bought so much they had to hire a truck to take it home.
Really? Okay, so here's me thinking that they're trying to extort 13 million out of him. I thought that was going straight to some like dodgy Cayman Islands bank account, but in fact they're just spending it on new gazelles.
Yeah, some sliders.
Yeah.
Those really thin shorts. Yeah, I mean, so the defendants, they claim that Pogba was happy for them to go because he wanted them to get stuff for their families. And they said he did get annoyed later because they overspent by a little bit, which, yeah, mate, just come on, get everyone a gift card, do a Jim Ratcliffe. Pogba disagrees. He says, I let them do this shopping trip out of fear, just like I made other payments. To be fair, I think he's probably going to be more annoyed with them about putting a machine gun in his mouth than like spending a little bit too much down the Adidas store. There was another very menacing visit, led, the prosecution argue, by Matthias, his brother. So apparently Matthias, after Paul moved to Juventus, he organised a group of them to drive all the way to Turin and camp outside the Juventus training ground, waiting to confront him.
When you say camp outside,
no, they're not pitching tents.
They're in their bell tent.
Stake it out, you know what I mean? Wait there for him, which apparently was to remind him of his roots. Let's put it that way. Anyway, Pogba ended up hiding. He locked himself in the training ground, hid there. And he then, soon after that, left his family WhatsApp group, which is quite sad, I think, and changed his phone number. He basically just like cut off contact with his brother, which, quite soon after that is when the video popped up of Matthias Pogba accusing him of witchcraft, which is probably the most bizarre moment. But anyway, apparently, each time these like menacing visits were paid, Pogba would quite often give them like bits of money, 5-6 figure sums. But apparently he was actually very close to transferring them the 13 million euros. So he'd set up an account in the UAE and he was going to put the 13 million in there, which he told his financial advisor was going to be for real estate projects. Pogba hasn't testified in this case. He's in Miami. Seems to be having a pretty good time there. So we don't know for sure if that's what it was, but that's one of the like arguments flying around in the case. You're probably wondering what is the defense against all of this. Like, what are the defendants saying? So they're saying lots of different things, and it's like a lot of their statements are contradicting each other. But, keeping it high level, the main argument that a lot of them are making is that they were forced into this by acquaintances who they are too scared to name. So they basically claim that they're being blackmailed into this as well because they have access to Pogba. So one of the defendants is this guy, Rushdane K, who is the alleged ringleader. He claims that these sinister puppeteers shot him in his hand to force him to do this. And he does have a scar on his hand. He also claims that a video of this shooting was sent to his little brother, who's also a defendant. Unfortunately, that video has been lost. Make of that what you will.
It's a real shame.
Yeah, really would have been quite helpful. But another one of the defendants claimed that these unnamed baddies threatened Pogba's own mother. And so, they're kind of making the argument that they're actually the ones protecting Paul and his family.
Okay, yeah, because we mentioned last week that Matthias came to court with his mum. So maybe that is legit if...
Yeah, I don't know what she's making.
If she has been threatened and she does see Matthias as a victim in this.
Yeah, Matthias is also blaming some unnamed people. He says he was threatened. He does admit, he says, I was angry with Paul and I regret it. He said, my brain was disconnected. It had become personal between me and Paul. I made a million mistakes in a month. And he also says that Rushdane K, this alleged ringleader, manipulated him into making the witchcraft video, which, yeah, is convenient.
Okay.
Anyway, it all these mentions of these secret puppeteers behind the scenes did make the trial turn quite Salem witch trials at one point. So there was a moment where two men, members of the public, came and sat in the gallery near Pogba's mum, and one of the accused, one of the defendants started casting these furtive glances backwards, looking quite worried. And then shortly after that, there was a recess, a break in proceedings. And this defendant's wife suddenly screamed, "They're outside! They're putting pressure on him!" So it's quite sort of crucible.
Surely that's not a smart move if you're implicated in the case. you are the master puppeteer. Just keep your head down.
Keep away from the
just
trial.
For a few weeks.
I don't know if she's...
Or is it maybe it was their heavies who
yeah,
sort of turned
or
up.
he just happened to be looking backwards. We don't really know. But I think the combination with his wife then doing that was all quite dramatic. And then the next day, one of the other defendants, a guy called Adama C, basically there was a bit in the trial where there was this really heated exchange between the two sets of lawyers, and during it he snuck out the courtroom and was then found lying in the corridor, quote, screaming face down and sobbing.
Oh my God, it sounds like he's going through some sort of exorcism.
Yeah, mad. So it's all happening. Are you allowed to just sneak out if you're a defendant?
If you're a defendant, surely that's...
He's not in custody. The only one who's in custody is this guy, Rushdane K, I think because his charges are more serious, because he's alleged to be the ringleader. But yeah.
Okay, so if Matthias and the other defendants are out and about, there is potentially a chance that they're being intimidated by...
Yeah. I don't know if that's why he was sobbing and screaming into the ground.
Yeah.
Or if it's because he was possessed by the devil, like the Salem witch trials.
Or because he knew he's facing a 20 stretch.
Yeah, I think the main guys are facing 5. Matthias is facing slightly less because he's not charged with the kidnapping.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
wow,
it's
God,
wild.
It is mad.
The verdict, Zach, is on the 19th of December, so just in time for the Pogbas to have a family Christmas.
Are we going to Paris for the verdict?
Yeah, well, obviously I've spent the last 2 weeks in the court, in the Palais de Justice, transcribing my French shorthand. But I should clarify, I haven't actually, been doing court reporting. So I just want to thank Tierno, who's been messaging us updates, various links to the coverage, and sofoot.com, the French football website, who've been doing some excellent reporting. Really, really good.
Actually, speaking of people facing courtroom battles, Luigi Mangione, the guy who shot the United Healthcare CEO, he was obviously arrested this week, which that's an absolutely mad story.
Yeah. Also, he was in McDonald's.
He was in McDonald's. Yeah. What I find quite mad about the story is that he seems like a relatively normal guy. He was just arrested while getting a Big Mac.
Yeah.
Which also, when we're talking about keep your head down, then just surely just don't go to McDonald's for a couple of weeks when you're the most wanted man in the US.
Because 4 people recognised him.
Yeah. Just stay at home. Just stay at home.
That's what Uber Eats is for, mate.
But anyway, like a lot of people have been popping up with stories of seeing him around a little bit like that, including the Japanese poker star Obara Jun, who a few months ago had posted a picture of himself out for dinner with Luigi. So he didn't know that it was Luigi, but when this shooting took place and he was on the run, he obviously saw pictures of him on CCTV and stuff that were plastered all over the news. And Obara posted on Facebook saying, "I've been informed that the person in my previous post may be the suspect in the murder of the CEO of United Healthcare. I live in Japan and was having a fun meal at a restaurant with a friend in Tokyo that day. Luigi came in by himself and we talked to him and treated him to a meal and drinks because we wanted him to enjoy Japan. So I have no idea what kind of person he is, let alone any contact information."
What do you think people were like?
I think people must have been like asking if he knew his whereabouts.
Yes. Did he mention any sort of like anti-capitalist, anti-big healthcare sentiments?
Yeah. I also just like that this Japanese poker player has made a living out of being able to read people. And he's just, I had honestly no idea. Like.
Luigi, great poker face. Yeah. You're going to thrive in the death row Texas Hold'em tournament.
Yeah.
Actually, similar story, but for our newsletter, we obviously have this thing, Upshot Gold, where people pay a subscription to read it. And there's a WhatsApp group for it. And Andy, one of our readers, was saying in it today that his best mate had Harold Shipman, the murderer doctor, as his GP. And he said, my mate makes his living reading people. He's like a deal maker for companies. We were talking and he said, Harold Shipman was the nicest fella you could ever meet. I'm guessing that was pre-trial.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he wasn't continuing to work after that.
There was another guy then replied saying that Shipman, in an old job, he had a letter from him and he had lovely handwriting.
Yeah.
Which I always think psychopaths do. Briefly, I don't know why I did this, but I wrote to a guy on death row in America. There's like a charity.
Are you one of these people who's trying to...
We're getting married
gets like a
next
kick out of it, yeah.
And
why were you writing to this guy?
There's like my friend's dad's done it for years with this charity, and they've been playing the same chess game for like 40 years. And his guy sounds like he could be innocent. Unfortunately, I googled my guy, and he's definitely not innocent, and that put me off. But I wrote a couple of letters to him, just sort of out of interest as a journalist, and his handwriting was like so elaborate. It was like beautiful, which is so sinister.
He's got a lot of time to practice that.
Yeah, true.
Did you do like the guy who got Duncan Ferguson banged up, who then sent him a sex doll with Did you send this serial killer?
No, I think I sent one or maybe two letters and then
one or two nudes. It was just
the odd pair of my used underwear. We're not in contact. We haven't been playing chess. Anyway, it was a long time ago. It was just out of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think good handwriting is a bit sinister.
Yeah.
Especially in
I think writing to serial killers in jail is a bit sinister, and I think I've possibly misjudged you, and I'm no longer sure if I want to be locked in a hot room with you to be beaten with birch branches.
When you get to like a warehouse on the outskirts of town, you're like, are you sure this is the Banya?
Just come in here, yeah.
By the way, if that sounds like an appealing working environment, we're working with me and my history, then we have a job available at the Upshot at the moment. We're looking for a video producer. We've already had some very strong applicants, but we'd love yours. If you're a sharp video editor and you want to help us take the podcast to YouTube and Instagram, then please apply. I'll drop a link in the show notes. It's for someone like relatively early in their video production career, I would say. But we want someone who's going to grow with us. So it's a great opportunity to like really grow a YouTube and an Instagram channel and experience the intoxicating feeling of being thrashed senseless in a Russian bath next Christmas. Maybe we'll do a different Christmas party next year.
See how this one goes.
Probably go axe throwing like everyone else does.
Is that what your serial killer suggested?
Yeah, axe throwing.
So as the twilight of his career approached, TV Bafuma had achieved almost everything he'd dreamed of. He'd netted a famous winner for Turkish side Yeni Malatyaspor, graced the hallowed fields of the Greek second division, and lined up alongside Graham Dorrans for West Bromwich Albion. But there was just one more thing TV wanted to be able to tell his grandkids, that he'd played alongside the great Cristiano Ronaldo. So when an offer came in from Iranian side Esteghlal, TV's heart leapt. And as he scanned the fixture list, there it was. An Asian Champions League tie against Ronaldo's Al Nassr. So without a second thought, TV signed on the dotted line and boarded the next flight to Tehran, nervously cancelling his browser subscription and downloading Farsi on Duolingo. And after landing in the Iranian capital, he penned an excited text to his new teammate, the former Chelsea man, Gael Kakuta. But within a few minutes, he had a phone call come in from Gael. TV, you know there are two Esteghlals. So it turned out that Puma had accidentally signed for Tehran Minnows Esteghlal Khuzestan instead of their more celebrated crosstown rivals Esteghlal FC. So it was a bit of a blunder from him because Esteghlal Khuzestan are definitely not playing against Ronaldo. They're nowhere near the Champions League.
So he won't achieve his dream.
Sadly not.
I guess he's in the same city so he can go and watch Ronaldo.
He could do that,
He can be one of those guys with a sign saying, "Can I have your shirt?" He can run on.
That would be one to tell the grandkids.
Run on, get a selfie, and then get tackled from like 3 directions.
Well, it could actually turn out all right for him. So you'd be glad to hear that earlier this season, he ended up scoring the winner in the Tehran derby against Esteghlal FC.
The hated rivals.
Their hated rivals, and they're currently above them in the table.
Okay.
So they're still not very high in the table, but if they have a late run, then maybe they could qualify.
Still not
I don't know. Maybe they could qualify for next season's Champions League.
Persepolis' form dips.
Yeah, Tractor, in fact, they're top of the table.
Are they?
Yeah.
Tractor
Iranian
Who played
side.
for Tractor? We talked about them before.
Was it Anthony Stokes or someone like that?
Yeah, you're right. I think it was.
I think it was Anthony, cocaine dealer. Is he cocaine dealer? Cocaine possessor, Anthony Stokes.
So
had a stint in Iran, which is not where you go if you're partial to a bit of nose candy.
Yeah, it's more heroin out there, isn't it? There's a lot of heroin in Iran because of the opium.
Yeah.
So he could also get the move to the other Esteghlal, couldn't he?
Yeah, maybe if he makes a name for himself in the Iranian top flight.
I'm sure Ronaldo will be watching.
Yeah.
So Gael Kakuta's playing in Iran.
Yeah, for Esteghlal FC.
How old is he? He must be late career.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also feel like he's one of those players who could turn out to be like 30 now, or he could be 38. I have honestly no idea.
Because didn't really work out for him at Chelsea.
Never really worked out for him at Chelsea, and I think we covered this on the pod before. He had a guy who was impersonating him and living a much more glamorous life than him. So he'd like this scammer would go along to nightclubs, tell them that he's Gael Kakuta, and everyone's sort of like, "Is that Gael Kakuta?" Is that possibly? Like, I honestly don't really know what he looks like, and just living this like life of fame.
Yeah, like blagging like helicopter trip.
Yeah,
and then at one point he makes Thierry Henry's ex-wife fall in love with him, which is meant. I mean, I feel sorry for her, but it's pretty wild.
Yeah, apparently wasn't he? He was like calling her from prison.
Yeah,
telling her that he was like on a business. No, he told her that he was on military duty in like Afghanistan.
Is he still Gael Kakuta at this point? No,
I think this was a different. Because
it'd be a double. It'd be a double slap in the face if not only was the guy you thought was your boyfriend is a con man, but also you thought he was
Gael Kakuta.
Estehlal's star, Gael Kakuta.
Yeah, poor old Gael. I don't think he ever
and poor old
really reached the heights he could. Yeah, and TV.
Who probably won't play Ronaldo now.
No, but
I guess that's what like if you're playing in the Asian Champions League, like quite a lot of the teams would have been unlikely to play against Ronaldo in any other context. Are they all just like getting selfies with him at half time?
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you remember that when Erling Haaland, I think he was still at Dortmund, and that ref got a selfie with him at half time, and everyone
didn't the ref get his shirt or something?
Yeah, maybe it was that. Everyone was like, it also reminds me of it's not Terry Butcher. Who is it in the England 1986 team who Maradona obviously scored the hand of God and then scored that wonder goal, and all the England team were livid, and then one of the squad walked in wearing Maradona's shirt. They're like, mate, come on. And then like 2 years ago, he sold it for £6 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be done.
That's probably what that ref was thinking.
Yeah.
So there was some pretty horrible news over the weekend when West Ham striker Michail Antonio had a really nasty car crash in Essex, in Epping Forest. So there are these quite frightening pictures of his Ferrari just looking mangled at the roadside. It sounds like he was pretty lucky to be alive. He's actually sounds like he's doing pretty well. So he's recovering. He's had leg surgery, but he's, he FaceTimed his teammates before Monday's game and apparently was like cracking jokes and stuff. So he's like relatively unscathed compared to how bad it could be.
Having looked at pictures of the car, it does look like he's very lucky to be alive.
Yeah, but I think it is just his leg.
Yeah.
They are saying that he could be out for at least a year, which like he's
34 already. So
could be pretty bad. But
our thoughts are with him.
Yeah, thoughts are with him. I guess he's basically okay though in the grand scheme of things, which is
could have been worse.
Yeah, it's actually not his first car crash. So in 2019 on Christmas Day, he was driving his Lamborghini on an icy road in Balham in South London, and he said he was taking a corner at about 30 miles an hour when he skidded off and he ploughed his Lamborghini into someone's garden wall, which would just be like a fairly scary thing all round. I mean, again, the car looked really bad. But there was one moment of comic relief when onlookers saw Antonio emerging from the wreckage and he was in a snowman costume, complete with an orange carrot nose. He'd worn the outfit at like West Ham's Christmas Day training. And I think he was driving home and he's still in costume. Apparently it was particularly mad for the people in the house because they said they were literally about to sit down to Christmas lunch.
Yeah.
So they were like, I'm picturing like they've all got their like arms crossed doing the cracker thing, turkeys on the table. And then suddenly they just heard this huge crash and they came outside and first of all, you're like, someone's destroyed our front wall in a Lamborghini. Then you're like,
is that the guy from Walking in the Air?
Yeah. I'm walking in the air. And then you're like, is that West Ham striker Michael Antonio dressed as a snowman coming out of the Lamborghini? And then the people who live in the house said, when we came out, Antonio was on the phone shouting to someone that he was all right. He kept saying, "Don't keep telling me I'm stupid," to the person on the phone, which I really like. Anyway, Antonio said after that his car insurance went up to 20 grand a year. Which actually...
It's going to be a lot more now.
Yeah, it's going to be even worse. But he still played 24 hours later and set up a goal.
Oh, that's good.
So that one, he came out completely unscathed.
Good.
Which is quite mad.
So Puma launched their new £220 Future 8 boots on Friday, just in time for the Christmas rush. And, they've spent months locked in the lab crafting these boots. Their marketing team have been working overtime to plug them to aspiring footballers. And they pulled off a big coup when they persuaded Euro 2024 hero Marc Cucurella to wear the new boots for Sunday's game against Spurs. And I imagine that at Puma HQ, all the lab technicians and textile designers were gathered around the TV with their families, waiting to see their new Christmas product grace the Premier League for the first time. And then their hearts sank. So after 5 minutes, Cucurella slipped and gifted Tottenham the opening goal. And then 7 minutes later, he slipped again and Tottenham scored again. So they're 2-0 up at this point. So Cucurella then sprinted to the touchline and ripped off his new boots and put on an old pair that he had. Luckily for him, Chelsea recovered to win the game, but for Puma, the humiliation was just beginning. So as soon as Cucurella was back in the dressing room, he posted a picture of his brand new boots in the bin, which, as marketing stunts go, that's pretty much as bad as it can get.
Wasn't there also a bit where Cole Palmer in his post-match interview goes like, "Oi, Mark, where are your boots?" And he's like, "In the bin."
Yeah.
Just in case Sky viewers haven't seen the Instagram post.
Making sure everybody knows that these boots are completely useless.
Let's put out press release as well, actually, while we're at it.
Yeah, so he did actually eventually delete that post, presumably after a frantic call from his agent reminding him about the multi-million-pound boot deal that he'd signed with Puma.
Yeah. That is basically the worst possible thing you could do to a boot launch.
Yeah.
Apparently he did change in some other Puma boots. So
yeah, some of them are all right, but
really sound like
whatever you do, don't get their new Christmas range.
Because they are shit.
Didn't you say that Puma's stock has tanked?
I had a look. I mean, their share price is down 1 or 2%, but that might just be like supply chain issues in Vietnam or something. I don't know if Cucurella's like wiped 10 million off the value.
I mean, you can see that it could affect. I mean, it's definitely going to harm sales of these new boots, right?
Do you remember when? Do you remember Ronaldo at the was it Euros, Euro 2020, and there was a bottle of Coke in front of him, and he pushed it away and was like, no Coke, water. And Coke's share price like tanked. So it can work. I mean, no offense to Mark Cucurella or Puma, to be honest, but like, you guys aren't quite Ronaldo and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Also, I saw that Puma, after the Euros, designed a special boot for Cucurella.
Yeah, it was like a commemorative boot.
Yeah, it was like just for the Spanish wing backs, I think, which is weird angle. Is that because like Adidas and Nike have got like Rodri?
All the important positions.
Yeah. It was just the goalkeeper and the wing backs left. We'll do a special wing back boot. I don't think Cucurella is like the obvious face for a sportswear brand, is he? I guess he's had a good year.
He has had a good year. He's quite a distinctive looking bloke as well.
He's memorable.
So, which has backfired.
Because now everyone's seen him slip in Puma's boots. Have they done a statement or anything?
I don't think so. I don't know. I haven't seen one. I mean, there were people online saying that, you know, these boots are sort of like, they have interchangeable studs, so maybe he just wasn't wearing a long enough stud. I don't know.
Yeah, it was very wet. Storm Dara. Also, we talked about this we did a little Instagram video, and had a lot of comments from people outside of England, I guess, questioning your pronunciation of Puma.
Yeah.
That is how English people pronounce it.
That's how the animal puma is pronounced in England. In British English.
Yeah, along with words like puny and puke, which are pu.
Yeah.
I actually saw, I got quite deep into this rabbit hole because people were giving us shit for not saying Puma, which is how they say it in like Germany, where Puma.
Yeah, I mean, to be
America,
fair, it is a German brand, so.
Yeah, and apparently, so it's the word comes from, it's a Native American word from South America, and then the Spanish conquistadors pronounce it Puma. So I would argue, if you're pronouncing it Puma, that you are on the side of the
colonizers.
Great genocide perpetrated in South America.
That was on my mind when
we were pronouncing it like the Native Americans.
Because we respect native cultures.
But anyway, apparently Jeremy Clarkson has been questioned on this before, and he said I pronounce it how it's spelled. So yeah,
he pronounces it Puma.
Puma, yeah. So look, that's how we say it in England. I think it's all of England. Maybe people around the country say it differently.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've dragged us into another tedious accent wormhole.
Fenerbahce.
Yeah, it's Fenerbahce all over again.
Hole, yeah. Well.
Yeah. Anyway,
good to back ourselves. So, former Sunderland striker Asamoah Gyan was once one of the world's best paid players. So he earned £24 million in 2 years playing in China.
Oh, China.
He also did a stint in the UAE where he was on stupid money. So it was a bit of a surprise this week to learn that just 2 years after leaving China, he was down to his last 600 quid. So that year he got into a big dispute with his wife, the excellently named Gifty Gyan. So he'd accused her of cheating and filed for divorce, and they didn't end up settling until last year. So after the verdict, Gyan appeared on the steps of the courtroom and declared, "The most important thing to me is my children. I am a family man," which, you know, is a charming sentiment, only slightly undermined by the fact he had refused to even speak to his children until they'd done a DNA test to prove that they were his. Which, you know, must have been a bit of a kick in the teeth for them, considering he had been raising them for the past decade.
How old are these kids then?
There are three of them. They look, from the picture, about 12.
Oh, Jesus.
And then maybe 5 and 3 or
well,
something
then one
like
day
that,
the dad's been like, I want a DNA test.
I want a DNA test, yeah. So he basically, he'd accused his wife of cheating and wanted to work out if the kids were really his. I think it might have had something to do with him working out whether he was legally obliged to give them any child support as part of the divorce settlement. So Gifty was angling for 25 grand a month. And according to the local press, Asamoah's face died when the results were read out in court and they were confirmed as his kids.
Is that a direct quote?
That's a direct quote. His face died, which you can imagine his kids sitting in the gallery just like waiting to see his reaction and just like him turn to them and like give them a big thumbs up. Yeah. He's just like, face like a slapped ass.
It's cost me.
Fuck now.
How much does that cost him? 25 grand a month?
25 grand a month. And also, as part of the settlement, the court ordered him to hand Gifty 2 homes, so one in the UK and one in Ghana, 2 cars and a petrol station. I'm not sure what she's going to do with the petrol station.
Did he own the petrol station?
He owned the petrol station, yeah. So he's got a pretty interesting business portfolio. He runs a mineral water company, a noodle company. He briefly launched an airline called Baby Jet.
Oh, nice.
Which
How's that going?
Not a single flight has taken off.
Right.
I think it has been put into liquidation.
Where is this? In
Ghana. Yeah. He also owns 13 buses in Ghana.
Which he kept in the divorce.
He has kept the buses.
He got the petrol station.
He might be sleeping.
He got the petrol station and the kids. He got the buses. To be fair, he didn't want the kids. He'd rather have the buses.
Who needs kids when you got 13 buses?
Why does she need a petrol station? Or is it just an asset?
It's just an asset, I think. I don't know whether she's going to be there, like filling up people's cars.
I thought it was like to meet her fuel needs every month.
Yeah, maybe.
So he'd rather have 25 grand a month than his children. Yeah, I think that's clear.
I think that was sort of the implication.
Is he so he's a bit of a bastard.
Yeah, I couldn't possibly speculate.
Didn't you say I swear you told me he's a politician.
He did have a political party in Ghana. It was a sort of it was quite a funny story around it, because it's a sort of centre-right party. And when you remember in the 2010 World Cup, when Ghana lost to Uruguay, and that was when Suarez saved the ball on the line in the last minute with his hand, and Ghana got a penalty which Gyan took, which could have sent them into the World Cup semis, and he missed it. And someone and a sports journalist from Ghana afterwards said that he had deliberately missed the penalty because he didn't want the incumbent centre-left government to be in charge when the first African team made a World Cup semi-final.
Didn't want the bounce.
Which is, which, he's really playing the long game.
Was he in politics at that point?
I think so, yeah. He must have been.
Oh, so he was
the leader
standing to gain
a rival political
Given
party.
that this man made his children take a DNA test, I wouldn't put it past him personally.
Who knows? Yeah.
I bet you one petrol station. That's mental. I do always remember that in Alistair Campbell's diary, he said that in Euro 96, him and Tony Blair were supporting Germany against England because they were worried that an England win would give the Tory government a bounce and that they would recover.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean...
Maybe he was onto something. Maybe,
I don't think they're suggesting that Gareth Southgate...
Alistair Campbell was Asamoah Gyan's spin doctor.
Yeah, I don't think they're saying that Gareth Southgate missed the penalty because of his political action. Gaza didn't reach that ball on the line because one day he's going for Transport Secretary.
Actually, to be fair, I could actually see Gareth Southgate being quite a...
I thought you said Gaza.
Gaza, hopefully not.
Yeah, Gareth Southgate could
I could see him in like the House of Lords.
Yeah, a sort of dignitary. And then he maybe becomes like a trade envoy or something.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some sportsman? Botham is in the House of Lords.
Didn't he only turn up like twice?
Yeah, he's often in Australia doing some... I think he is trade envoy to Australia. He does also have a wine there and used to have a mistress there. But unrelated.
Actually, while we're on the subject of Asamoah Gyan, my other favourite fact about him is that while he was playing in the UAE, he was ordered to change his hairstyle because officials ruled he had unethical hair. Unethical. He had a Mohican at the time. Which
is that considered unethical?
Apparently so.
Yeah. Do they have haircut rules then?
Yeah, it seems like it. There were 40 players who were ruled to have unethical hair and had to change it.
Don't want to know what the punishment is. Is it just changing your hair?
I mean,
quickly.
I don't know.
He was Sunderland, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had one season or maybe 2 seasons at Sunderland where he was really good, and then a huge offer came in from the UAE.
Can't really blame him. I saw Oscar, the Chelsea midfielder.
Yeah.
When he went to China, he was like 26, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?" But to be fair to him, he's been there for 8 years. He's finally leaving, and there was this video of him like tearfully saying goodbye. So he obviously loved it.
He must be absolutely loaded.
Yeah, mate. He made 160 million. It's wild.
Yeah.
Fair
play to him. Can get a lot of petrol stations with that
money. All right, I think that's all we've got time for. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Jack.
And thanks for listening.